Hello and welcome back to the Defense Force 4.
Choose loadout. Rangers can equip 2 weapons.
These
So selected deploying.
Like I hate the Rhetorius or whatever so much. Ooh.
Someone is caught in the web made by the giant insects. Rescue them! Move forward!
So what topics do I have for this video? We have... Let's see, I have a piece of paper here. How subcontractors are killing the abilities of many countries to actually develop infrastructure. We have some video game bullshit. And we have random musings about you. I'll mention the contractors one quick. This is a joke. I don't have a big list. And this is something I kind of have known for a while, but I've never really thought that hard about until fairly recently. So, do you know why a lot of construction is so expensive now? Is because there are a lot of things that are like evilly contracted and subcontracted, partially because of laws made by people who appeal to the like NIMBY people, you know, the I got my house, now I don't want you to get yours, stop building things, you know, those kinds of people. You know, the evilest people are the tweediest. Because everybody kind of needs a house to live, therefore being against
what should we do?
Okay, I don't need to explain this, do I? The point is, right, there's a lot of this stuff which is drawn up to sound good on paper, but it doesn't do what it does. Kind of like, you know, environmental review. If this was actually an environmental review, to see what impact something will have on the natural environment, that'll be good. How come all the data centers pass environmental review, but like a high-rise building gets stuck there, costs ballooning as it's stuck there? Well, because it's an excuse in order to delay construction to make it more expensive. Why? Because who do you think there's that. Then there's, like, the whole subcontractor thing, right? The sort of main topic, you know, I would argue, where instead of having one company who does the building, then maybe, like, another company who does the materials or whatever. We get material from this guy, we get concrete from this guy, we get rebar from maybe this guy, we get prefabricated stuff from maybe this other guy. No. The way it's often done, especially in the West, is that everything is subcontracted all the time. There are subcontractors for the subcontractors, and basically it's just a lot of bloat, which adds a shit ton of completely, like, unnecessary expenditure, which is just designed to rinse even more and more money out of the already, like, struggling public systems. That's because, you know, just having, you know, let's say you got let's say you have somebody who you want to give a good job to, like a good position. You can't just put them in a position of a, like, you know, this isn't exactly, you know, an oligarchy yet. I mean, that's changing in a lot of the world, but, you know, for now at least, the way they've been doing it, like, the way the politicians have been doing this is, you know, kind of like in the US, for instance, where you'll have, like, no-bid contract for construction, and then, like, those no-bid contracts will go to small firms who will get a pretty big pay cut, and their entire job is to basically, like, you know, subcontract the work they're meant to be doing out to another company. And obviously the goal in this is to, you know, rinse money out of the public system because us, you know, normal people can't have good things. The rich must be the only ones who have good things. And in order to, you know, achieve that, they'll make up all kinds of bullshit to make you scared. There's like 1, maybe 2 trans people in sports in the US. So, we can start a moral panic that gets real people hurt. Why? Takes away attention from the bullshit we're doing. Yeah, it's
Choose
all...
loadout.
It's
Rangers
really
can
funny
equip 2 weapons.
because it's all connected. In the sense
Select
that
a
rich
mission.
people do what rich people do.
Choose
And it's
loadout.
screw over everybody, including
Select
often
emissions.
other rich people.
Deploying.
But hey, it is what it is. And so, as the sad adventures of reality continue, it is with great honor that I can say that I have never, not once in my life,
Their defense is strong.
done
Focus fire
something
and wear
as
them
evil
down one
as
at a
to be a
time.
subcontractor. Anyways, now for the video game stuff. I thought about this recently, and it's... God, I can't wait for GTA 6, not because I care about the game. I think I said this earlier, but specifically, here's the issue. Whenever a game gets overhyped, 10 years ago, right? 15 years ago even, if a game was overhyped and it came out, the discussion around it would still be really positive. Maybe the game wasn't all it was, you know, cracked up to be, right? But hey, we still got a good game out of it. So, you know, why would you be mad about it? We still got a good game, and you can still play it, and it's still fun. Not buggy or broken, it's just not the best thing ever, but no game ever is. Yeah, such a thing can't really happen today. Today, if a game doesn't come out literally correct, you'll have people trying to shit all over it. It's happened with literally every game that's come out. I don't think there's a single game that's gotten, like, the kind of, you know, praise that other games get. Now, sometimes the criticisms that people have for a game are more valid. Like, you know, Cyberpunk's launch was funny because it was full of bugs, even though the game has been cleaned up years since. And, you know, when you have a game series like Zelda, you know, with a long history of action-adventure games, I call them RPGs, but people get mad, so I change my tune, and then bring up the fact so that those people get mad again, and so that, well, more so that people who don't care realize how, like, there is a surprising, though, to be fair, small amount of the Zelda fanbase who are vehemently anti-RPG, even if they're playing games which could, if I was being generous, classify them as soft RPGs. And then we have, like, the 2 recent ones, you know, Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, which aren't the 2 most recent ones, but from new 3D Zeldas that aren't Hyrule Warriors. These are the 2 of them. Now, the problem with these 2 games is the fact that they're not what you could call, like, traditional 3D Zelda. And they have some issues in them which were issues in Breath of the Wild, and then not fixed in Tears of the Kingdom. Things like durability, making some weapons basically feel unviable, things like, just like these annoyances, which didn't make it maybe a bad game, and you could definitely excuse it, especially since it was the first time Nintendo did something like that. And then, you know, Tears of the Kingdom felt like so much more of the same. And because of that, you had, like, a lot of people who were previously, you know, maybe not the biggest fans of Breath of the Wild, but appreciated it for being, like, you know, a unique and new thing, especially at a time when it felt like, a lot of developers were moving in the direction of making the same few games over and over again. It felt kind of like a breath of fresh air, you know, maybe like a Breath of the Wild air. It's okay. The unsubscribe button. Twice, hopefully. But the issue is, right, when we got into the whole Breath of the Wild thing, into the wild, a lot of the criticism was muted by the fact that a lot of people were still excited about the fact that it was a new game. However, then when, you know, Tears of the Kingdom didn't really change too much from the original criticisms people had, the people who already didn't like Breath of the Wild, or the people who maybe enjoyed it but didn't really enjoy Tears of the Kingdom for whatever reason, which such people exist, and I mean, yeah, obviously, you have your reasons not liking it. These people got louder, especially when people started getting really annoying about, you know, how, specifically how, like, oh, you don't like something because you're a contrarian. Which when you see that, like, you know, when there's a group of people who actually have actual, like, you know, people who've played the game actually have criticisms of the game, calling them contrarian will only, like, you know, get them more interested in already, you know, criticizing the thing. And, the consequence of this is, you know, oh my fucking god. I know they don't do this on purpose, but it does feel like it's on purpose. But yeah, like, it's very much one of those sorts of things where, like, like, it's not that they're bad games. Even the people who, don't, I mean, maybe there's a few people, right? But even most of the people who say that, like, you know, it's never from, like, the angle of, like, this is irredeemable garbage. No, that's left for, like, people who drift about, you know, the Pokemon game that was released when they were 15 rather than when they were 12. But, it's very much one of those things where the more you see it, the more you can't help but, like, notice that, it's a lot of, like, valid complaints. Some invalid ones may be thrown in, but a lot of them are just valid criticisms. But then you'll see, like, you know, the typical, you know, drum beating of the defense, where people realize, oh yeah, I don't have to actually defend. So, you know, I first of all, unless it's, like, actively hurting you, like being a stoner. For those who don't know, there's a sort of, it depends on what kind of communities you're in, but there's a meme that, like, stoners are insufferable, and it's true. You'll have, like, I don't wanna go too deep into it, but, like, it's just fuck's sake! It's just an internet meme. But yeah, regardless of that, there's a sort of, let's call it meme, where, why is there another Hector over there even? Is it just stupid? But yeah, regardless of that, there's a bit of a problem within, did that thing just drop another Hector? But yeah, there's very much a thing where, oh my god, I don't remember this mission. I'll be honest with you. Oh my god. There's very much like a thing where people will, just kind of ascribe any criticism of a thing they like to contrarianism, and sometimes it is true. Sometimes, like, you know, fucking Donkey Kong Bonanza, it's a fine game. You can say, and like, it's what I mean by contrarianism, right? You can say Bonanza was fine. You can say, I didn't really care for Bonanza. You can even say, I don't like gorillas. And at the end of the day, all of these are fine opinions, right? But the difference between somebody who's, like, just not a fan TM and a contrarian is, oh my god! Is the idea that, like, you know, somebody will be like, yeah, well, this game sucks. It's like, it's kind of funny, though, how, like, it's why it's so interesting seeing opinions from reviewers. Because, you know, the big sort of thing I feel which has changed with reviewers is that they are simultaneously getting more and less opinionated on, like, different things as time goes on. And sometimes, depending on the reviewer, this can end up making a review fucking gold. Sometimes comedy gold, to be fair. But, like, it can make some reviews great and some reviews utterly dog shit. For instance, there were, like, from time to time, IGN drops, like, a massive fucking banger, parentheses, they give a game for which there's some kind of fanbase for, like a 6 or a 5, for reasons that aren't, like, entirely unjustified. Like, I'll see the reason and be like, yeah, seems fair to me. And then it'll be like, sometimes a month-long discussion about, like, the emotional harm of video game journalism and how, you know, they need ethics in it or some shit. I don't know. And it's remarkably funny because so often what they're getting mad at is, like, Mouse PI for Hire getting, like, a 6, and the review was like, it's a solid little, like, boomer shootery sort of game. The action segments are fine. There's nothing that wrong with them, but okay, to be fair, some of the weapons are unbalanced, but it's not that big of a deal. The detective sections, I'm just going off the top of my head, so if I forgot, like, some part of the review, I'm sorry, but it's like, the sections of the game where you actually do detective stuff, so basically they're not anywhere near as engaging as you would hope they would be for a game for noir, for a game that, like, you know, tries to do some LA noir type stuff. And the issue is that it has, like, a superficial, like, painting of noir type stuff while not actually having a lot of, you know, stuff which you could actually call that. And that's the main big criticism in the review. Shit, do I go back for the fucking... Yeah, I'll do it. Like, you have this big sort of advertising thing where it's like, oh yeah, dude, this is like, you know, this has its own style. And the game is well animated, the game looks fine, but it's all kind of surface level. And once you go past this surface level, you're left with a shooter that isn't bad by any means, but it's also not that special, really. And there's also, like, you know, my favorite video essay term, video essay overused, not video essay is something which isn't correct. You know, ludonarrative dissonance, which is also a problem in The Last of Us, which people don't really talk about, where, oh, there are so few humans left due to the fucking cordyceps fungus or whatever. And then it's like a game where you mostly shoot other humans. That doesn't make much sense now, does it? But it is what it is, you know? And then, you know, going on from that, it's like, Well, do you think that maybe Mao's PI for Hire could have been a 7 out of 10? Maybe not a 6. Why a 6? Well, because that's the score the reviewer gave it. Sometimes the review can be abysmal, like Metro has, you know, the UK tabloid has a gaming review section now. And they, I think, really hate Musou type games, you know, like Peak Fiction. And I know it's like, oh, haha, Musou game. Yeah, listen. There are two kinds of gamers. Those who understand the beauty of a series like Earth Defense Force, or like Dynasty Warriors / Hyrule Warriors / whatever, and the people who don't understand why these games are so valued and beloved by their fans. And I would explain it to you. However, I feel like you're not worthy of an explanation. I mean, you know, memes aside, there is value to a game, you know, because people always argue, you know, quantity, quality, blah. Listen, I know there's like that kind of really insufferable phrase from like, you know, oh, quantity has a quality, all of it. No. 100 tons of shit is still shit. You just now have 100 tons of it. But the thing is, like, you know, some games, hint, what I'm playing, aren't necessarily high art, and then, like, you know, they're just a fun loop that you can play when you feel like it. They were never designed to be highbrow, high-intelligence experiences. They were instead perfecting a much simpler art, and that's being fun. And you know, in a game of, in a world where so many games are trying to be hyper-realistic, where they're trying to have all of these super serious storylines, sometimes it's fun to just load up whatever the fuck this is and blow up colossal alien megastructures, you know? Spoilers. But it's, you know, one of those sorts of things, right? Where people will act like... I've seen this before, right? Where it's one of those art game things where, to be fair, you know, whenever discussing art games, you want to watch out for, like, because there are some people who hate art games for really funny reasons. Like, funny reasons, I mean, like, mentally insane reasons. Like, there's this one guy who is, like, who allegedly stole, like, 100 grand in the US, with fraud, and then ran away. And then he complains about, like, art in games with, like, insane ramblings. Just the kinds of stuff you find on the internet. Regardless, like, you know, whenever, what I mean is, like, you know, whenever there's a discussion on something, especially art, you're always gonna find, like, your local hobo, you know, who has an opinion. He has a strong opinion, and he will let the world know it, even if the world doesn't want to know. And I'm aware that, like, you know, sometimes people will be just obsessed over something, you know. But yeah, obsession isn't really the concern. The concern is how you handle it. Because everybody can have, like, an obsession. Maybe it's something that is considered socially acceptable. Maybe it's something that's considered socially unacceptable. You just have to make sure that it doesn't, in some way, ruin your life. You know? If, you know, or obviously, like, ruin the lives of others, you know? If you playing World of Warcraft for, like, fucking 8 hours every day, it still lets you live a normal life, normal instead stretched jokey JPEG, that's fine. But like, if you are like neglecting your firstborn, who's like 5 months old, so you can keep on playing WoW, something which I'm pretty sure did happen in some places. Insane. But, you know, if that's the thing that's happening, then maybe your obsession is like bad. You know, shocker. But yeah, it's one of those things. But yeah, like, at least for me, it's kind of interesting because, like, I don't really have obsessions, you know? It's one of those I can quit whenever I want sort of thing, but, like, you know, especially if you're, like, not exactly, what's the term I'm looking for? Ah, yes, neurotypical. You will have, like, things that aren't necessarily obsessions, but they're just things you think about a lot. You know, it depends on the level, right? Because there are people who are, like, you know, especially like, oh yeah, but he has autism, therefore, you know, hearts of iron, knowing every single World War II aircraft, but you don't know when the Battle of Verdun was. That the joke is that it happened in World War I. Okay, but you know what I mean. It's like having this sort of hyper-focused point of, like, you know, on one thing and then not knowing anything outside of it, which is like a funny thing where you may know every command in the Linux terminal, but you know, what do you mean you can't set up a RAID array on, like, standard HP software? You don't know the fucking standard procedure for, like, you know, that's the sort of issue I feel that sometimes comes with, like, a lot of nerdy obsessions, where somebody will
Choose loadout.
have, like,
Ranger.
a specific nerdy obsession,
Choose loadout.
which is
Rangers
really
can
good
equip 2 weapons.
in, like, you know, their specific thing. But the issue is that then, like, the moment you go out of, even in the same sort of nerd space, whenever you fall out of, like, that exact specialized thing they're into, they're clueless. And that's the issue. If you have, like, a nerdy obsession, make sure that, especially if you genuinely love something, make sure that you try to grow that love into something maybe a little bit more useful. Obviously, you know, if you have a love for train sets, why not try to get into train engineering? I don't know. Like, you know, you could always... And it's like, huh, what would I be, a train engineer? I'm pretty sure, like, I'm talking out of my ass here, but, like, I'd imagine that most people who are, like, into trains probably don't want to be, like, you know, train engineers. And maybe you could have the dedication to be one of them. Now, granted, I don't know how much these are paid. If you're already, like, working a cushy tech job, or, like, one of those email jobs, you're probably better off, but you know what I mean. I'm talking specifically for, like, the people who are still... Yeah, the people who still have, like, you know, all of their options open and don't know what to choose. Obviously, maybe pick money first and passion second, especially in today's economy, and longevity also first, but, you know how it is. There'll always be more people who need to buy food. So at least if you become a cook, you'll never go out of business. As long as the great starving doesn't happen. Goodbye.